The Battle of Khaibar took place at the beginning of the year 7 Hijri, in the middle of Muharram, and victory was achieved in Safar. This battle took place after the Hudaibiyah Agreement between the Prophet Muhammad and the pagans of Mecca. A month after the signing of the agreement, the Prophet, who had arrived in Medina, soon left for Kaiba with his troops. Kaiba is an agricultural area located about 165 kilometers north of Medina. This region is known to be fertile and has many water sources and abundant plantations, such as dates and other fruits. It was inhabited by a mix of Arabs and Jews, although the Gathafan Arabs considered it their territory. This war was motivated by the expulsion of the Jews of Banu and Nadir, who were expelled by the Prophet Muhammad from their village in Medina as punishment for the various betrayals. Many prominent figures of Banu and Nadir who resided in Kaiba carried out several activities that incited and worsened the image of Prophet Muhammad. In addition, the inhabitants of Kaiba were the ones who assembled an army to fight the Muslims and encouraged the Banu Qurayza to break the covenant and betray. Established contact with the hypocrites who were a thorn in the side of the Muslims, associated with the Gathafans and the Bedouin Arabs, who were the third wing of the enemy army. This proved that they were already preparing for war. They had even plotted to kill the Prophet Muhammad. The dangerous movements would threaten the security of the Muslims in Medina. Apart from the security factor, the Prophet also saw that access to Islamic propagation would be blocked if he allowed the Jewish leaders in Kaiba to play their role. For this reason, the best step to take is to besiege Kaiba, which is the last stronghold of the Jews in the Arabian Peninsula, in order to ensure that these two things run smoothly. The events of this battle are recorded in the Quran Surah Al-Fath verse 20 as Allah's promise to the Muslims who participated in the Treaty of Hudaibiyah, that they would get a lot of booty. Allah said, "Allah has promised you much booty which, later, you may take, so He hastened this booty for you. He has withheld the hands of men from harming you that you may be grateful to Him. That He may be a proof for the believers, and that He may guide you to the straight path." Quran Surah Al-Fath verse 20. Allah promised the Muslims victory and much booty from the disbelievers gradually in the future. Allah will soon give victory and booty at the Battle of Khaibar. Allah also guaranteed and stopped the Jews in Medina from harassing and destroying the Muslims' property when they went to Mecca and to Kaiba. They should be grateful for these events and use them as proof of the truth of the Prophet Muhammad as the messenger sent by God to mankind. Allah assisted and helped the Muslims from the threats and attacks of enemies, whether known or unknown, large or small. Allah guides the Muslims to the straight path that is pleasing to Him. According to Ibn Jarir, what is meant by the words, "Allah restrained the hands of those who would destroy the messenger of Allah and the Muslims," is the desire and efforts of the people of Kaiba and other tribes allied with them. Because in their hearts there was still jealousy and resentment. The tribes that were allied with the people of Kaiba were the tribes of Asad and Gathafan. The Prophet left for Kaiba with between 1,400 and 1,600 troops. The troops were people who followed the Prophet to perform Umrah, although they were blocked by the infidels of Mecca, so that the Hudaibiyah Agreement was formed. The Muslim army led by the Prophet consisted of 200 horses and several women. The Prophet also included his wife, Salama or Hindan bint Abu Umayya bin Mufira al-Qurasiyya al-Makhzumiyya, because she had previously come to Hudaibiyah. The Prophet's strategy before arriving in Kaiba was to drive out the Gathafan Arab tribe who had collaborated with the Jews of Kaiba. Karen Armstrong in Muhammad the Prophet. A Critical Biography, 2011, explains that Kaiba is a very strong settlement and is said to be difficult to defeat. Although they looked strong, in reality they were divided inside. It turned out that each tribe in the settlement had autonomy, and they found it difficult to unite against a common enemy. The weakness was utilized by the Prophet to divide them even deeper, one of which was by driving the Gathafan Arab tribe. The Prophet and his troops on this journey were finally based in a place that could prevent them from heading to Kaiba. After being blocked, they also heard the commotion in their settlement and suspected that the Prophet and his troops were attacking their settlement. It is not impossible that the noise was made by the Muslims, on the orders of the Prophet, to deceive the Gathafan, so that they would let the Jews face the Prophet and his army alone. After arriving in Kaiba, precisely before dawn, the Prophet and the troops performed the Fajr prayer on the outskirts of the city, and as soon as the sun rose, Kaiba was attacked. The Prophet's habit if he wanted to invade an area was not at night to avoid those who did not take up arms. When in the morning the people of Kaiba came out of their houses carrying shovels and baskets to the garden, they were surprised by the sudden attack. The messenger of Allah started the movement. They ran to their fortress shouting, "Muhammad is coming with an army." In the narration of Anas bin Malik, the messenger of Allah said out loud, "Allahu Akbar. Destroy Kaiba. If we descend to attack in the courtyard of a people, then very bad will be the morning of the people who are warned." Hadith narrated by Bukhari. Kaiba had 5 fortresses, namely Fort Naim, Fort Ash-Shab bin Muadz, Fort Kala-az-Zubair, Fort Ubay, Fort an-Nazar. The first 3 forts were located in the Naat area, while the last 2 forts were in the Asyik area. While the second half of the Kaiba region, which is also called Al-Katabar, has 3 fortresses, namely Fort Al-Kamish, a fort belonging to Banu Abul Hakayak of Banu an-Nadir, Fort Al-Wathit, Fort Az-Sulaim. The Islamic forces first attacked Naat, where there was the fortress of Naim. For 2 days the Muslims tried to break through this fort, but always failed. At that time, the banner of the Prophet was held by Sayyidina Abu Bakr. The next day the Prophet handed over the banner to someone whom he even guaranteed by saying, "Victory will be granted by Allah through him," namely Sayyidina Ali. In one of the Prophet Muhammad's messages to Sayyidina Ali, the Prophet said, "Invite them to Islam. Convey to them what is required of them from the rights of Allah. By Allah, if Allah guides someone through you, that is better than the most valuable wealth." Hadith narrated by Bukhari and Muslim. Sayyidina Ali's agility as the holder of the Prophet's banner was shown when he was confronted by Marhab, a Jewish figure known for his bravery. However, Marhab was an arrogant and proud person. There was a duel between Sayyidina Ali and Marhab. Marhab lost and died at the hands of Ali. After the victory, the fortress of Naim was finally conquered. Then, Yazir, Marhab's brother, appeared, but Zubair ibn al-Awwam quickly came forward and defeated him. One by one the Jewish fortresses were conquered, which resulted in foodstuffs and possessions being controlled by the Islamic forces. They finally fled to the second half of Kaiba called Al-Katabar to take refuge in the fortresses of Al-Kamish and Sulaim. The Islamic troops surrounded them for 14 days and then surrendered and asked for peace. The casualties of the Islamic forces were 20 people. The impact of this victory was that the Muslims, who had previously cancelled their Umrah because they were confronted by the infidel Meccans in the Hudaibiyah incident, finally felt Allah's promise in the Quran Surah Al-Fath verse 20. They won a lot of booty, both food and weapons, from the conquest of Kaiba. Not only that, access to Islamic propagation also widened because the security conditions of Medina increased. It grew the economy of the Islamic community. The Muhajirs, who had previously received a lot of help from the Ansar such as date palms, were finally very grateful to them. Because the treasure that the Prophet Muhammad distributed to the Muhajirs from the spoils of war was sufficient for their needs. The Jews then surrendered. The entire fortress was handed over to the Muslims. The Prophet Muhammad ordered his troops to continue protecting the Jews and all their wealth, except Kanana bin Rabi, who was proven to have lied when questioned by the apostle. The protection seems to have been deliberately given by the apostle to show the different treatment of Muslims and Christians towards the defeated party. Normally, Christian troops from the Roman Empire would destroy defeated Jewish groups. Now the Jews of Kaiba were given the freedom to govern themselves as long as they followed the Prophet Muhammad's line of political leadership. Prophet Muhammad stayed for some time in Kaiba. He even almost died because he was poisoned. It is narrated that Zainab bint Harith held a grudge against Prophet Muhammad. Salam, her husband, was killed in the Battle of Khaibar. Zainab then sent a piece of lamb to the Prophet Muhammad. The Prophet took a small bite of the meat, but immediately spit it out after feeling something odd. Not so with the companion of the Apostle, Bisri bin Bara. He died from eating the meat. Kaiba had been conquered. The group of the Prophet's troops returned to Medina through Wadi al-Qura, an area controlled by another Jewish group. Local Jewish troops intercepted the group. As in Kaiba, they were then conquered as well. Meanwhile, the Jews of Taimamala extended an offer of peace without going to war. With this conquest, Islam in Medina had become a major force in the Arabian Peninsula. The peace of the community was increasingly realized. Thus, the Prophet Muhammad could concentrate more on preaching to build the morality of society.